talk about Israel, which made me mauled earlier this morning. Israel now has an incredibly, intensely right-wing government, okay? They put Bibi Netanyahu back in a position of power. He's trying to cover his own ass. Netanyahu, who is almost single-handedly responsible for so much right-wing radicalization that has occurred over his watch, under his watchful eye in Israel, has now aligned himself with Ben Gvir, who is literally was too racist to join the Israeli military. Like, think about it that way. Okay? The Israeli military was like, yeah, dog, like, you are such a fascist. You are too racist for our military. Like, that's how insane he is. Israel has been particularly brutal in its already incredibly brutal occupation and already brutal, theocratic apartheid state that it has been cultivating for some time now. And it's so commonplace. It's kind of like American police brutality, which ironically does get training from the IDF. But it's so commonplace, it's so routine that people rarely ever cover it until there was retaliation in the form of civilians being attacked in Jerusalem at a synagogue. The violence is a constant, but the way that people talk about it in Israel specifically, look at this. Absolutely horrific mass shooting in Israel as Palestinian government kills 7 people. Okay, that's straight up. It is. It's also the type of violence that happens when you have nothing else. It's not at a synagogue. That's the Israeli media's framing. Okay, well, 9 killed in Jenin raid. 9 people had been killed Thursday in what Israel described as a counterterrorism operation in the West Bank's Jenin refugee camp. It was one of the deadliest Israeli military raids in the occupied West Bank since the Second Intifada or Palestinian uprising of 2000 to 2005. The word you're looking for is retaliatory. Yes, Israel has gotten to a point where, of course, it was going to inevitably become this violent and this insane. They're now there. Okay? They're now officially, they're there. It's like flying the Palestinian flag is considered to be illegal. Like, there are so many insane. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, this is a singular act of violence. Okay? This, on the right, is systemic violence. It's the same principle all over again. This is considered defensive, even though it's not. This is considered offensive, and it is singled out by everyone in the Western world as absolutely horrifying, absolutely horrific. This is absolutely horrific. Getting gunned down is absolutely horrific. Okay? Getting gunned down is absolutely horrific, which is why the Palestinian existence is absolutely horrific every day. Now, one of the things that's insane is that they found the shooter. They got the shooter. They're breaking his home down. They're demolishing his home. And people are asking to literally exile family members of the shooter. Like, they want to do collective punishment, which is, of course, ironic considering that it is collective punishment if you are a Palestinian. Your life is a collective punishment. For what crime? The crime of being Palestinian. The daughter is speaking about how Majda Neifa, 61 years old, was killed by Israeli occupation forces today in Jenin. Her mother was shot in the neck in her home through the window. This is horrifying. I mean, this is just like a part of everyday existence. And yeah, the NPR episode made me lose my mind, okay? It made me lose my mind. The way that they covered it was so insane. NPR is supposed to be the objective source of news, you know what I mean? I'm not going to sit there and defend the actions of a person who, killed 7 people, because civilian deaths are still civilian deaths, ultimately. But goddamn, dude, what is the expectation here? What is the expectation of a people that have been subjected to so much harm in front of all of our eyes? I'll just tell you like this, okay? Israel is so insane in the way that it deals with its apartheid state, with the way that it deals with Palestinians, that American liberal NGOs like the Human Rights Watch now considers it an apartheid state. Okay? I don't even know what else to say. These NGOs are unironically tasked with whitewashing all manner of imperialism and colonialism. And even they are like, no, dog, this shit's an apartheid state. Like, you guys are crazy. It's undeniable. And yet American media still refuses to call it out as what it is. The Zionist entity called for a large cabinet meeting that just concluded. They have decided the demolition of the home of Qadi al-Qam, the martyred hero of the Al-Quds operation, chill. Depriving national insurance rights and other benefits for the families of the resistance fighters, refusal to grant identity cards to the families of resistance fighters. This will lead to the exile of family members from Al-Quds. A wide arrest campaign whose goal is to collect weapons. No details about the scope or duration of the campaign. Arming thousands of settlers and accelerating and expanding the scope of firearms licenses and expanding settlements. I believe even before this happened that they were literally talking about Ben Gvir, who is now in charge of, if I'm not mistaken, the occupying forces of in West Bank, the entirety of West Bank, I believe. I might be this up right now. Hold on. Wanted to expand firearm licensing regardless. Like he wanted to change the rules of engagement for the Jewish settlers in West Bank. There's only apartheid in West Bank by punishing family members who haven't objectively done anything wrong except bad speech is wrong. Yeah, there's only apartheid in the West Bank. First of all, there's apartheid everywhere, dude. Gaza is an open air prison. It's even worse than an apartheid, I guess, by if you want to measure atrocities. Gaza in and of itself is just an open world prison, an open air prison where like the population is insanely young and getting bombed routinely. The other part of it domestically though, and there are Israeli chatters in here who will probably talk about this too. Domestically, Israel is also becoming more even right-wing in the way that like Americans understand it, with respect to like LGBT laws, further segregation, depraving Arab citizens of rights that they previously held. It is insanity. It's fucking madness, okay? Today, our TikTok account is permanently banned without warning and explanation. We are one small number of independent news outlets. Yeah, I mean, TikTok, classic. So at a certain point, it's like, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know how to cover it anymore. And part of that was because under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu, who himself is a Holocaust revisionist, famously, Israel became infinitely more militant and incredibly violent. As well, Israel propaganda isn't hitting the same abroad. It doesn't matter, though, because internally in Israel is just gone insane completely. Like it was already fraught, okay? Its inception is brutal. Its inception is violent. It's Western imperialism. But on top of that, like, even if you were to look at the people that live there now and try to come to a manageable conclusion, it seems like it's becoming more and more impossible as the slow genocide of having an apartheid existence creeps in over and over again. Holocaust revisionist, what is he revising? He said Hitler didn't want to kill all the Jews. Netanyahu is a criminal as well. And the insanity here is that like Netanyahu has built a coalition with Ben Gvir, who is even worse than Netanyahu. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, they're just on a, like, Israel is a great way to look at and understand what the Overton window shifting looks like in the United States of America as well. Like, Benny Gantz, who was supposed to be the liberal reformist candidate, was still running on a campaign of war crimes that he committed. You know what I mean? Like, that's the most liberal guy and the most liberal coalition you were supposed to put together. And that very same liberal coalition was already working on making it illegal to fucking fly the Palestinian flag. That's the most liberal coalition in Israel, which immediately it's disbanded. It's gone anyway. And the pendulum swiftly shifted in the other direction, swung in the other direction, and now they're even more right-wing. Ben Gvir had a picture of Israeli mass murderer Baruch Goldstein, who killed 30 people in 1994, hanging in his living room. For Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin as Otzma Yehudit leader MK Itamar Ben Gvir, the man who here. This is it. Okay, this is what I was going to show you. So Yitzhak Rabin was again, like, this guy is now seen as like infinitely more liberal by current Israeli standards. Even then, not exactly peaceful. Okay, but this man who was murdered, okay. Ben Gvir had infamously stolen the emblem of Rabin's Cadillac and promised to get Rabin just weeks before his death. Like, I'm telling you, Ben Gvir is a radical by Israeli standards, okay? That's insane. Yeah, he is so radical that he used to be on Israel's watch list for extremists. Netanyahu is courting extremism to maintain power. Netanyahu himself is an extremist.